rattlesnake took his life. And we've been reporting on this church for a long time. So now we're going to show you some images from behind closed doors. Here's ABC's Steve Osensami.
Pastor Jamie Coots was always ready to meet Jesus, and the bite that killed him happened at church with his son and family watching.
The snake that bit him, we've been carrying it to church now for about 4 months.
He always told me, you get bit, you either die at home or God brings you through.
The preacher himself walked us through his world last year, where believers speak in tongues. To many outsiders, it doesn't make sense, using poisonous snakes to worship God.
That's the singing of a rattlesnake.
These Pentecostal families and their hit reality series, Snake Salvation, from National Geographic. There are more than 100 of these small churches across Appalachia, all fighting with state and local authorities. Their pastors arrested for breaking the law, using deadly snakes in worship.
The snake is nothing more than that to me. It's just a tool that, is used in the Bible.
A verse from the book of Mark defines their faith.
They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them, and they shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover.
True believers like Coots refuse treatment when the snakes bite. For the pastor, that was at least 8 times.
We got the call to come back that he had passed away.
Doctors say bite victims must always survive when they get medical help immediately. Steve Osensami, ABC News, Atlanta.
This verse is a promise of protection, not a command to those individuals God has called to preach the gospel. Mark 16:18 is as much a misused passage as a difficult one. And its misuse can often be deadly. There have been a number of fringe Christians who have died because of its misuse and abuse. Often found in America's South, they have managed to blow this text way out of proportion, and make it a major mark of the Christian life. An example of this occurred on the Mediterranean island of Malta, where the Apostle Paul was bitten by a poisonous snake while gathering firewood.
Once safely on shore, we found out that the island was called Malta. The islanders showed us unusual kindness. They built a fire and welcomed us all because it was raining and cold. Paul gathered a pile of brushwood, and as he put it on the fire, a viper, driven out by the heat, fastened itself on his hand. When the islanders saw the snake hanging from his hand, they said to each other, "This man must be a murderer, for though he escaped from the sea, the goddess Justice has not allowed him to live." But Paul shook the snake off into the fire and suffered no ill effects. The people expected him to swell up or suddenly fall dead. But after waiting a long time and seeing nothing unusual happen to him, they changed their minds and said he was a god.
It is important to realize that he was not purposely handling the snake. He certainly did not go out of his way looking for dangerous serpents. There is no biblical instance of taking up snakes in the sense of actually handling them. Indeed, Paul did not devote an entire church services to messing around with a bunch of deadly snakes. Rather, this incident was an unexpected accident, and God miraculously protected his servant as he had promised. Deliberately handling poisonous snakes, or drinking deadly liquids expecting God's protection is definitely contrary to Christ's teachings.
Then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. "If you are the Son of God," he said, "throw yourself down. For it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone."
Satan tries to persuade Christ to throw himself down from a pinnacle merely because he had a promise of protection. However, Christ rebukes Satan because he is misapplying the scripture he quotes from Psalm chapter 91 verses 11 to 12.
"For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone."
Jesus says to Satan, as he says to anyone who delights in misapplying God's promise of protection.
Jesus answered him, "It is also written, Do not put the Lord your God to the test."
Quoted from Deuteronomy 6:16.
"Do not put the Lord your God to the test as you did at Massa."
Therefore, The practice of deliberately handling deadly snakes, or drinking poisonous liquids is definitely wrong.